What's up, guys? I'm nobody special. It's been a few days. I apologize. The holidays have been very hectic. I've had a lot of family time. We're off to more family time right now, but I just figured, man, I really got to get a video in. I haven't done one in a while. So I got the whole family in the truck with me right now. I've got Mrs. Special is doing our camera work. I got my little specials in the back seat. They're all being nice and quiet so I can make my video right now. So what I wanted to talk to you about is there was some developments over these last few days with the Evergrande collapse. And some of them, I'm not going to lie, were a little scary to me when I read behind the talking points and really looked into some of it. So first of all, Evergrande has essentially received a backdoor bailout from the Chinese government. Right? There's this new advisory board has been created. It consists of Hui Kaiyan, the founder, some company lawyers, but mostly Chinese Communist Party members, right? These Chinese regulators, banking officials, right? And that's where the muscle is with this group, right? The Evergrande, the company people are really just there for optics. This is a government takeover of Evergrande, right? The company has been effectively nationalized, and Joe Blogs did a video about this today. It's a fantastic channel, and he's been covering the Evergrande story very closely. Highly recommend his channel. But yeah, the company has been nationalized. Now, they won't come out and say that outright, but if you look at what they're doing, that's what they've done. Now, the headline today was that 90% of the company's projects had been restarted. Now, keep in mind, they haven't paid their employees. They haven't paid their bonds. So where are they getting the money to restart these projects? It's coming from the government. Or the government is strongly suggesting that people do this on credit, if you know what I mean. Now, in some of these Bloomberg articles that have come out over the last few days, they've been talking about how the priorities have been, number one, paying employees. Number two, delivering projects to people that have already made down payments. And number three, paying the onshore creditors, the contractors, the suppliers, making sure they get paid. All things designed to minimize the public outrage at what Evergrande has done. And there will be a lot of public outrage if this situation is not managed very carefully. And remember, I've said this a few times on this channel, the one thing the Chinese Communist Party fears is the Chinese people, right? Their priority is maintaining power and social stability, because that's the only thing that threatens the Chinese Communist Party is the Chinese people. So everything that's being done in Evergrande is done to minimize this public outrage. So the first thing they're saying is we have to pay the employees. Well, how are they paying employees? First of all, some of these projects, if they have escrow funds available, the priority for the escrow funds is to pay the employees. And they want this done before this Chinese New Year, which is coming up in about 2 months, because this is when the families gather together, and they want to make sure all of these traveling construction workers have been paid, so they don't go home and complain to their families that they don't have anything to show for all these months that they've been away. Again, it's all about managing this anger. The other thing they're doing is they're making sure that people who've already paid for apartments get the apartments they've paid for. So now it's about finishing these buildings. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times before how a lot of people say because the Chinese Communist Party rules with an iron fist, that they can manage this crisis effectively because they are not limited by the democratic process or by any checks and balances. They can do what they want. And I've always said respectfully, that is the wrong way to look at this. The way to look at this is the Chinese Communist Party rules absolutely, and so their ability to mess this up even worse is unlimited. And that's exactly what they're doing, because they just released these talking points through Hui Kaiyan, the founder of the company, who is now basically a government spokesperson. Keep that in mind. When you hear him talk, it's the Communist Party talking. And he said that Evergrande was going to deliver 39,000 apartment units per month for the foreseeable future. Now remember, what's going on in China right now, they have 65 million vacant apartments in China. And in order to solve this problem that was started by the collapse of the Chinese housing market, they're going to flood the market with a further supply, 39,000 more units every month for the foreseeable future. Well, what's that going to do to these housing prices? It's going to make things even worse. The market is telling us in China, we don't want any more apartments. We don't want any more buildings. There's too much supply. So the Chinese government gets involved and they make everybody produce more supply at gunpoint. Again, their ability to mess this up is unlimited, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're going to flood the market with even more supply, which is going to cause prices to crash even further. Now, there were some other things that Hui Kaiyan said that were also a little scary. He released a talking point that said Evergrande employees will not be allowed to lie flat and that they need to fight day and night to deliver these 39,000 units a month. All right, so you got to unpack a few things here. First of all, his reference to lie flat. When he said Evergrande employees will not be allowed to lie flat. Lie flat is this movement in China that started on social media that some people say it's laziness. Some people say it's a protest against materialism. Some people say it's defeatist behavior among younger generations who are dejected by the lack of upward mobility. Whatever it is, lie flat is this economic minimalist movement where people are willing to work just hard enough to survive and nothing more. And really what it is the upward mobility and the economic opportunity has been so limited by what the CCP and what these companies have done, is that people are saying, look, I'm going to work just hard enough to eat, and that's it. Because if I work any harder, Hui Kaiyan is going to get richer. I'm not going to get any richer, so I'm not going to bother. Right? We see a little bit of that with Gen Z here in the States, where people are saying, why am I going to work harder, work 60, 70 hours a week just to make the CEO pay go up? I'm not going to get another dime for it. And, you know, I don't subscribe to that mentality personally, but I can certainly see where they get the idea, because the deck has been stacked against some of these younger generations. So this lie flat movement in China is not very popular with the CCP. All right, Xi Jinping has publicly criticized lie flat several times. So for Hui Kaiyan to come out and say Evergrande employees will not be allowed to lie flat, that's a pretty sinister statement. All right, because keep in mind, Evergrande employees aren't getting paid right now. Evergrande isn't making their payroll. Also keep in mind, a lot of Evergrande employees were bullied or even threatened into making purchases of these wealth management products with Evergrande, which were basically unsecured loans to the company, and Evergrande is not paying it back. So these people are working for free. They've had their savings stolen by the company they work for. The value of their house is about to crash, and now the communist government, through this company's CEO, is threatening these employees. You need to go back to work and work even harder, or who knows what happens to you. Because again, the Chinese Communist Party, they don't make suggestions. They don't give friendly reminders, all right? When they suggest you do something, you do it, or you disappear and they find someone who will do it. So the fact that these people are being told you won't be allowed to lie flat and you need to fight day and night, i.e. you need to work your hands to the bone for the good of the company, this is the Chinese Communist Party spreading the misery around, all right? Communism is not the equal distribution of wealth. Communism is the universal misery of everyone, and that's what we're seeing them do with Evergrande. These people, these employees, have been royally screwed by the company. Now the Communist Party took over and they said, we're going to screw you even more. And you're also seeing things like negotiations with creditors are happening. Who would negotiate credit with Evergrande right now? Would you take a job or sign a contract with this company? Of course not. Nobody would. They don't pay their debts. They defaulted on their bonds. So when you hear that Evergrande is signing contracts to finish these 90% of projects that they have open, and that they're negotiating with creditors, what's really going on is the Chinese Communist Party people are walking into those boardrooms and saying, we strongly suggest you sign this piece of paper that includes terms favorable to our interests, and if you don't, well, who knows? And again, 9 out of 10 people in China are going to sign that paper, because the Chinese Communist Party does not make suggestions. They issue orders. So what's going on with Evergrande right now, it's a backdoor bailout. The company has been taken over by the government, which effectively means negotiations with this company are backed up by the threat of force. And it's a scary time to be involved in any of these business dealings with Evergrande. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me ramble on in my truck. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. It really helps me out. Until next time, live small, dream big.